Millionaire left his ex-wife when he became CEO. 5 years later, she walked into his company dinner with triplets and his business rival. Are they mine? Yes. I tried to tell you, Trevor. I called you 87 times. 87. I sent you 43 emails. I came to your office building 4 times. 4 times. I stood in that lobby begging security to let me see you. I didn't know. You didn't want to know. You blocked my number. You deleted my emails without reading them. You told security not to let me in. You built a wall so high I couldn't reach you even when I was 6 months pregnant and terrified. Paige, please. Please what, Trevor? Please forgive you? Please let you meet the 3 sons you abandoned before they were even born? Who is that man, Dad? Let me tell you how I got here. Let me tell you how I lost everything that mattered in less than 60 seconds. My name is Trevor Hale, and 5 years ago, I made a choice. The board of directors at Paramount Industries called me into their executive conference room on the 45th floor. The room had floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking all of Chicago. 8 people sat around a glass table. They controlled billions of dollars. They controlled careers. They controlled lives. Richard Brennan, the chairman, looked at me across that table and said something I will never forget. Trevor, we are prepared to make you the youngest CEO in this company's history. $2 million per year. Stock options worth another $3 million. You will have everything you have ever worked for. But there is one condition. What condition? You need to end your relationship with Paige Morrison. She doesn't fit our image. She works at a nonprofit in a poor neighborhood. She has no connections, no family wealth, no pedigree. When you become CEO, your personal life becomes our public image. We need someone beside you who opens doors for this company. Paige Morrison closes them. I sat in that conference room and I thought about my childhood. I grew up in South Chicago. My father lost his job at a manufacturing plant when I was 11 years old. My mother cleaned houses for wealthy families on the north side. She worked 6 days a week. I remember watching her count coins on our kitchen table to buy groceries. I remember wearing the same pair of shoes for 2 years because we couldn't afford new ones. I remember the shame of being the poor kid at school. I promised myself I would never be poor again. I promised myself I would climb out of that neighborhood and never look back. So when Richard Brennan offered me $2 million per year to walk away from the woman I loved, I took it. I chose the corner office. I chose the salary. I chose the image. And I destroyed everything real in my life. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me take you back to the beginning. Let me show you what love looked like before I killed it. 6 years ago, I met Paige Morrison in a bookstore in downtown Chicago. It was a Saturday afternoon in October. The bookstore was one of those old places with wooden floors and the smell of coffee and paper. I was looking for a business book, something about leadership or strategy, something to help me climb faster at Paramount Industries. Paige was in the community organizing section. She had auburn hair pulled back in a ponytail. She wore jeans and a green sweater. No makeup, no designer clothes, just natural beauty. We both reached for the same coffee at the counter. Our hands touched. We both pulled back and laughed. "I'm sorry," I said. "You take it." "No, you were here first," she said. Her smile was genuine, not practiced or performed, just real. We started talking. I asked what she was reading. She showed me a book about grassroots community development. She told me she worked as a social worker in Englewood, one of Chicago's most struggling neighborhoods. She helped families find job training and housing assistance. "What do you do?" she asked me. "I work at a tech company, corporate strategy." She didn't seem impressed by that, which was refreshing. Most women I met in Chicago were very interested when they heard I worked at Paramount Industries. They saw dollar signs and connections. Paige just nodded and went back to talking about her work. We talked for 20 minutes standing at that coffee counter. When I finally looked at my watch, I realized I had missed the meeting I was supposed to attend. I didn't care. "Can I get your number?" I asked. She smiled again. "Sure." We went on our first date 3 days later. I took her to a restaurant I thought would impress her. White tablecloths, wine list, expensive menu. Paige looked uncomfortable the whole time. "Can I be honest?" she said halfway through dinner. "This place is beautiful, but it's not really me. Want to get out of here?" We left the fancy restaurant and walked to a taco truck 2 blocks away. We sat on a bench eating tacos and talking until midnight. Paige told me about growing up in a small town in Indiana. Her parents died in a car accident when she was 23. She had no siblings. She moved to Chicago because she wanted to do work that mattered. I make $38,000 a year, she said. I live in a studio apartment in a neighborhood most people are afraid to drive through. But I love my work. I love knowing that I helped a single mother find a job today. I helped a veteran get into housing. That matters more to me than money. I admired that about her. In my world at Paramount Industries, everything was about money, profit margins and stock prices and quarterly earnings. Paige cared about people with real problems. I fell in love with her that night on the bench eating tacos. We dated for 2 years. I kept waiting for Paige to ask me for things. Designer purses, expensive dinners, trips to resorts. She never did. She was happy with walks in the park and cooking dinner at her tiny apartment and watching old movies on her laptop. She never asked me how much money I made. She never asked about my career ambitions. She just wanted to spend time with me. I bought an engagement ring, small diamond, simple band. I planned to propose on our 2-year anniversary. I was going to take her back to that taco truck where we had our first real date. I was going to get down on one knee right there on the sidewalk. Then the board called me into that conference room. We need to talk about your personal life, Trevor. That's how it started. Richard Brennan and 7 other board members sitting around that glass table, all of them looking at me like I was a problem they needed to solve. Your relationship with Paige Morrison is holding you back, Richard said. We've been discussing the CEO position. You are the top candidate. But we have concerns about your girlfriend. What concerns? She doesn't fit the image we need for Paramount Industries. Our CEO needs to represent success at every level, personal life included. We need a partner who comes from wealth and influence, someone whose family has connections to investors and business leaders. Paige Morrison is a social worker from Indiana. She brings nothing to the table. She brings everything to the table, I wanted to say. She's kind and intelligent and real, but I didn't say that. What are you asking me to do? We're asking you to make a choice, Richard said. End the relationship with Paige Morrison and we will make you CEO. Keep the relationship and someone else gets the position. They gave me 1 week to decide. I went home that night and I didn't call Paige. I sat in my apartment staring at the engagement ring. I thought about my childhood. I thought about my mother's hands red and raw from cleaning other people's houses. I thought about the shame I felt every time I couldn't afford what other kids had. $2 million per year would mean I never had to feel that shame again. It would mean I won. I climbed out of poverty and made something of myself, but it would also mean walking away from Paige. I told myself I would explain it to her. I would tell her the truth. I would say the board gave me an ultimatum and I had to choose my career. Maybe she would understand, but I knew she wouldn't understand because Paige believed in love more than money. She believed in staying true to yourself more than selling out for a salary. So I decided to lie. I called her on a Monday morning. Can we meet? I asked. At our coffee shop. The coffee shop was the place we went to every Sunday morning. Small place in Paige's neighborhood. We would sit by the window and read the newspaper together and split a muffin. Paige was already there when I arrived. She smiled when she saw me. That real smile that made me fall in love with her in the bookstore 2 years ago. Hey, she said. I ordered you a coffee. Black, no sugar. Thanks. We sat down at our usual table by the window. Outside, people walked past on the sidewalk. Life continued like normal, but nothing was normal about this moment. What did you want to talk about? Paige asked. I looked at her face. No makeup, freckles on her nose, green eyes that looked at me like I was the most important person in the world. And I was about to destroy her. I have been thinking a lot this week, I said. About us, about our relationship. Okay, she said slowly. Her smile faded. I think we want different things in life. I think it's better if we end this now before it gets more complicated. Paige stared at me. What are you talking about? I'm saying the relationship is over. Her face went pale. Why? Everything was fine last week. You said you loved me. What changed? I realized we're not compatible long term. We have different values, different goals. I think it's better to end it now. Different values? Trevor, what are you talking about? You work at a nonprofit making $38,000 a year. I'm about to become CEO of a major corporation. We live in different worlds. The words came out harsher than I intended. Paige's eyes filled with tears. "So, this is about money?" she asked. "You're breaking up with me because I don't make enough money?" "It's not just about money. It's about lifestyle, about compatibility, about where we see our futures going." Tears rolled down Paige's cheeks. "I don't understand. 2 weeks ago, you told me you wanted to spend your life with me. You said I was the best thing that ever happened to you. Now you're saying we're not compatible?" I thought about things more carefully. "I made a mistake." "You made a mistake?" Paige's voice broke. 2 years was a mistake? "I'm sorry." She reached across the table for my hand. "Trevor, please just tell me the truth. What really changed? Did I do something wrong?" I pulled my hand away. "You didn't do anything wrong. I just don't see a future for us." Paige started crying harder. Her shoulders shook. People at other tables in the coffee shop turned to look. I felt sick to my stomach, but I couldn't back down now. I had already made my choice. "Please don't do this," Paige said. "Please, I love you." I stood up from the table. "I'm sorry, Paige. This is for the best." "For the best? How is breaking my heart for the best?" "You'll understand eventually." I walked toward the door. Behind me, I could hear Paige crying. I could hear her saying my name. "Trevor, Trevor, please." I pushed open the door and stepped out onto the sidewalk. Through the window, I could see Paige sitting at the table. Her face was in her hands. Her whole body shook with sobs. I stood there on the sidewalk for a full minute watching her cry. Then I turned and walked away. That was the last time I saw Paige Morrison for 5 years. I went straight to Paramount Industries. I took the elevator to the 45th floor. I walked into Richard Brennan's office. "I'll do it," I said. "I ended the relationship. I want the CEO position." Richard smiled. He stood up and shook my hand. "Excellent decision, Trevor. You won't regret this." But I already regretted it. I could still see Paige's face. I could still hear her voice breaking as she asked me what changed. The announcement came 2 weeks later. Paramount Industries named me Chief Executive Officer. I was 32 years old, the youngest CEO in the company's history. The press release went to every major business publication in the country. Forbes wrote a cover story about me. Business Week called me a rising star in the tech industry. My face was on magazine covers. Reporters called for interviews. Business schools invited me to speak. Everyone wanted to know the secret to my success. I never told them the secret. The secret was that I sold my soul for a corner office. I moved into a penthouse apartment overlooking Lake Michigan, floor-to-ceiling windows, marble counters, designer furniture, everything I thought I wanted, but the apartment felt empty. I blocked Paige's number from my phone. I told my assistant to delete any emails from her address without showing them to me. I told building security at Paramount that if Paige Morrison came to the lobby asking for me, they should turn her away. Clean break. That's what I told myself. No contact meant it would be easier for both of us to move on. I threw myself into work. 16-hour days, board meetings, investor presentations. I traveled to New York and San Francisco and Boston meeting with clients. I worked through weekends and holidays. 6 months after I became CEO, Richard Brennan invited me to a charity gala. All the major business leaders in Chicago would be there. Investors, entrepreneurs, politicians. "You should bring a date," Richard said. "Someone impressive." At the gala, Richard introduced me to Brooke Laurent. She was tall and stunning. Blonde hair, blue eyes, perfect features. She worked as a model. Her father was a real estate mogul who owned half of downtown Chicago. Brooke and I started talking. The conversation was smooth and polished. She laughed at my jokes. She touched my arm when she spoke. She gave me her number before the night ended. "She's perfect for you," Richard said after Brooke walked away. "Beautiful, connected, from the right family." The board would very much approve. I called Brooke the next day. We went to dinner at the most expensive restaurant in Chicago. Brooke wore a designer dress that probably cost more than Paige made in a month. We talked about travel and fashion and real estate. Everything was surface level, nothing real. But Brooke looked perfect in photographs, and that's what mattered to the board. We started dating. The relationship moved fast. Within 3 months, Brooke was attending company events with me. She stood next to me for photos. She smiled at investors' wives. She said all the right things. The board Loved her. You made the right choice, Trevor, Richard told me at a board meeting. Brooke Laurent is exactly the image we need. Much better than that social worker. I didn't tell him that I thought about that social worker every single day. I didn't tell him that I still had the engagement ring I bought for Paige hidden in my desk drawer. I didn't tell him that sometimes I would drive past Paige's neighborhood, hoping to catch a glimpse of her. I just smiled and nodded and played the part of successful CEO with the perfect girlfriend. 1 year after I became CEO, I proposed to Brooke. I took her to dinner at a restaurant on top of a skyscraper. Champagne, city views, violinist playing in the background. I got down on one knee. Brooke, will you marry me? Yes, she said. She held up her hand to admire the ring. It was 3 times larger than the ring I bought for Paige. More expensive, more impressive, less meaningful. Our engagement appeared in society magazines and business publications. Power couple, that's what they called us. CEO and model. Everyone said we looked perfect together. We got married 6 months later. 300 guests at a luxury hotel. Designer wedding dress. Custom tuxedo. Photographers everywhere. The wedding appeared in 5 different magazines. I stood at the altar watching Brooke walk down the aisle, and I thought about Paige. I wondered what she was doing. I wondered if she was happy. I wondered if she thought about me. Then I pushed those thoughts away and focused on my bride. Brooke and I moved into a bigger penthouse. We bought expensive cars. We went to galas and fundraisers and corporate events. We smiled for cameras. We said the right things. We looked perfect. But we barely talked. Not about real things. Not about feelings or fears or dreams. Just surface conversations about schedules and social events. I was successful. I was wealthy. I had everything the board told me I needed. And I was completely empty inside. 3 years passed like this. CEO of Paramount Industries. Married to Brooke Laurent. Attending events and making speeches and appearing on business news programs. Everyone told me I had made it. I had achieved the American dream. Then came the annual Paramount Industries Gala. The gala was the biggest event of the year. 200 guests, investors, board members, corporate leaders from across Chicago, crystal chandeliers, live music, 5-course dinner. I spent months planning every detail. The guest list, the menu, the seating arrangements. Everything had to be perfect. The night of the gala, I arrived early. I wore my most expensive tuxedo. Brooke wore a red designer gown that cost $12,000. We stood at the entrance greeting guests as they arrived. Richard Brennan pulled me aside. Excellent turnout, Trevor. The Henderson Investment Group is here. Wellington Capital sent their senior partners. This is exactly what we needed. I nodded and smiled. I had given this same smile at 100 events. Professional, confident, successful. The guests moved into the main ballroom. Waiters served champagne. A string quartet played in the corner. Everyone was dressed in evening wear. Jewels glittered under the chandeliers. Watches that cost more than cars. Shoes that cost more than monthly rent. This was my world now. Wealth and image and performance. Dinner was about to be served when the very important person entrance doors opened. I was standing near the head table holding a glass of champagne. I glanced toward the doors expecting to see another investor or board member. Instead, I saw Paige Morrison. Time seemed to stop. She looked different than she did 5 years ago. Her auburn hair was styled in an elegant updo. She wore a sophisticated navy blue gown, but it was unmistakably her, the woman I walked away from in that coffee shop. But Paige wasn't alone. A man walked beside her. His hand rested on her lower back. I recognized him immediately. Zachary West, CEO of Vertex Solutions, Paramount Industries' biggest competitor. Zachary West was younger than me by 2 years. He had built Vertex Solutions from nothing into a major tech company. The business press loved him. They called him the ethical entrepreneur, the CEO who cared about his employees. Everything Paramount Industries wasn't, but I barely processed Zachary's presence, because walking beside Paige and Zachary were 3 small boys. Triplets. Identical triplets. They couldn't have been more than 5 years old. All 3 wore matching navy suits with small bow ties. They had blonde hair, my exact shade of blonde. As they walked under the chandelier light, I saw their eyes. Green, the same unusual shade of green as my own eyes. My champagne glass slipped from my hand. The sound of crystals shattering on marble floor cut through the music and conversation. Everyone in the ballroom turned to look. 200 faces, all staring at me. I couldn't move. I couldn't breathe. I stared at the 3 boys walking beside Paige. They had my blonde hair, my green eyes. As they walked closer, I could see their faces more clearly. They had my nose, my jaw, my features, just smaller and younger. One of the boys looked up at the sound of breaking glass. He looked directly at me. It was like looking at a photograph of myself at age 5. "Oh my God," Richard Brennan whispered beside me. He saw it too. The entire ballroom had gone silent. No music, no conversation, just 200 people watching Paige and Zachary West walk through the room with 3 blonde boys who looked exactly like me. Brooke stood up from her chair at the head table. She turned and stared at the boys. Then she looked at me. "Trevor," she said. Her voice was loud enough for everyone nearby to hear. "Who are those children?" I couldn't answer. My throat had closed up. My hands were shaking. Paige and Zachary reached their assigned table, table 7. Close enough to the front to matter, but not at the head table where I sat. Paige helped the 3 boys into their seats. She moved with calm grace, as if she hadn't just walked into her ex-boyfriend. It's company gala with 3 children who were clearly his biological sons. Zachary pulled out Paige's chair. She sat down and smiled at him. A genuine smile. The same smile she used to give me. One of the boys tugged on Zachary's sleeve. "Who is that man, Dad?" The word echoed through the silent ballroom. "Dad." The boy called Zachary Dad. I felt like I had been punched in the chest. "Trevor." Brooke's voice was sharp now. "Trevor, answer me. Who are those children?" Whispers erupted around the ballroom. Heads turned between me at the head table and Paige's family at table 7. Camera phones appeared. Flashes went off. This was going to be all over the news by morning. "I need a moment," I managed to say. I walked away from the head table, through a side door, into an empty hallway. My hands were shaking so badly I had to lean against the wall. Paige had children. 3 identical boys who looked exactly like me. The math was simple. The boys appeared to be about 5 years old. 5 years ago, I walked away from Paige in that coffee shop. She must have been pregnant. And I never knew because I blocked her number. I deleted her emails. I told security to deny her access. I built a wall so high she couldn't reach me even when she was carrying my children. The hallway door opened. Richard Brennan stepped through. His face was red with anger. "Trevor, what the hell is going on? Who are those children?" "I don't know," I said. "Don't lie to me. Those boys look exactly like you. Everyone in that ballroom can see it. I didn't know about them. I swear I didn't know." "Didn't know?" Richard's voice rose. "You have 3 illegitimate children, and you didn't know?" "Paige and I broke up 5 years ago. I never heard from her after that." "Did you block her from contacting you?" My silence was answer enough. Richard swore. "Do you have any idea what this does to Paramount? Our CEO has secret children with Zachary West's wife. This is a disaster. I need to talk to her," I said. "Absolutely not. Not here. Not in front of 200 investors. You are going to go back into that ballroom and sit through dinner and act like nothing is wrong. We will deal with this tomorrow. I can't just sit there." "You can, and you will," Richard said. "The board made you CEO. The board can unmake you. Now get back in there." I followed Richard back into the ballroom. Every eye tracked me as I walked to the head table. Brooke wouldn't look at me. The other board members whispered among themselves. I forced myself to sit down. From my position, I had a clear view of table 7. Paige sat beside Zachary. He was helping the triplets with their napkins. The boys were well behaved, sitting quietly, talking to each other in low voices. One of the boys looked up and caught me staring. He tugged on Paige's sleeve and pointed at me. Paige turned and looked directly at me. Her face showed nothing. No anger, no sadness, no recognition. She looked at me like I was a stranger. Then she turned back to her family. That look hurt more than anything. Dinner was served. I couldn't eat. I pushed food around my plate while conversation died and revived around me in awkward fits. I watched Zachary West help the triplets cut their chicken. I watched Paige lean over to wipe sauce from one boy's chin. I watched the 3 boys laugh at something Zachary said. They looked like a complete family. A happy family. A family I should have been part of. After dinner, I was supposed to give a speech. I had prepared remarks about Paramount's growth and future vision. The words felt meaningless now. I stood at the podium. 200 faces looked up at me. My prepared speech sat in front of me. I started reading. Good evening. Thank you all for coming to Paramount Industries' annual gala. This year has been remarkable for our company. We have expanded into new markets, increased shareholder value, and strengthened our position as industry leaders. My eyes drifted to table 7. Paige was looking down at her hands. Zachary's arm rested on the back of her chair. The triplets were drinking juice from small glasses. Success, I continued, but my voice faltered. Success is measured in many ways. Profit margins, stock prices, market share. I have spent my career focused on those measurements. I wasn't reading from my notes anymore. The words came from somewhere deeper. But standing here tonight, I'm realizing that maybe I've been measuring the wrong things. 6 years ago, I made a choice. I chose my career over someone I loved. I was told that to be a successful CEO, I needed to prioritize image over authenticity, status over substance. I listened, and I lost everything that actually mattered. Richard Brennan was making cutting motions with his hand, telling me to stop. I ignored him. Tonight, I'm seeing the consequences of that choice. I'm seeing what I threw away, and I'm understanding, maybe for the first time, what real success looks like. I stepped away from the podium. I walked down from the stage and across the ballroom floor. People moved aside as I approached table 7. Zachary West stood up. He positioned himself slightly in front of Paige and the boys. His expression was calm but firm. "Trevor," Zachary said quietly, "this isn't the place." "I know. I'm sorry. I just need to ask." I looked at the 3 boys. "What are their names?" Paige stood up slowly. She looked at me for a long moment. "Cooper, Brady, and Austin. They're 5 years old." "I didn't know," I said. "Paige, I swear I didn't know you were pregnant. I tried to tell you. I called 87 times. I sent 43 emails. I came to your office building 4 times. You blocked me completely. I know. I was a coward." "Yes," Paige agreed. "You were." One of the boys, maybe Cooper or Brady, tugged on Zachary's jacket. "Who is that man, Dad?" "Dad." The word hit me again, like a physical blow. Zachary looked down at the boy with gentle eyes. "This is Mr. Hale, buddy. He's an old friend of your mom's. An old friend, not your biological father. Just an old friend. I want to be part of their lives," I said. "Please. I know I don't deserve it, but I need to try." "No," Zachary interrupted. His voice was still quiet, but there was steel in it. "You don't deserve it. You walked away from Paige when she needed you most. I was the one who found her crying in a hospital waiting room, 6 months pregnant with triplets and terrified. I was the one who went to her prenatal appointments. I was the one who held her hand during 14 hours of labor. I was the one who got up every night when they cried. I've been their father for 5 years, Trevor. Not you." The words were devastating because they were true. "Zachary," Paige said softly, touching his arm. She looked at me. "We should discuss this privately. Not here. Not in front of them." She glanced at the boys who were watching with confused faces. "Tomorrow," Zachary said to me. "My office, 10 a.m. We'll talk then." I nodded. There was nothing else to say. I turned and walked back across the ballroom. Every step felt like moving through water. 200 pairs of eyes followed me. I could feel them staring. I could hear the whispers starting. I didn't return to the podium. I walked straight out of the ballroom, through the lobby, and out into the Chicago night. Behind me, the gala continued. Someone else would give closing remarks. The board would handle the very important person reception. I didn't care anymore. I walked for blocks, loosening my tie, letting the cold November air clear my head. I thought about Paige 6 months pregnant and alone in a hospital waiting room. I thought about Zachary West finding her, helping her, staying with her. Zachary West. I had spent years thinking of him as a rival, someone to compete against. But Zachary had done something I failed to do. He had been there. He had shown up. He had been a father to 3 boys who weren't even biologically his. My phone buzzed constantly. Calls from Richard Brennan, from other board members, from Brooke. Text messages poured in. I ignored them all. By the time I reached my penthouse, my feet hurt, and my expensive shoes were scuffed from walking. The apartment was dark and silent. Brooke's things were already gone. She had clearly come here during the gala and packed her belongings. On the kitchen counter was a note in her handwriting. "We're done. My lawyer will contact you." I crumpled the note and threw it away. I felt nothing about Brooke leaving. Our entire relationship had been a performance, a carefully constructed image for the board. I sat on my couch in the dark and thought about Cooper, Brady, and Austin, 3 5-year-old boys I had never met. My sons, who called another man dad. I didn't sleep that night. At 9:30 the next morning, I stood outside Vertex Solutions headquarters. The building was smaller than Paramount's but more modern. Glass walls and green spaces. I rode the elevator to the top floor. Zachary's assistant showed me to a conference room. "Mr. West will be with you shortly," the assistant said. I waited. Through the glass walls I could see Vertex employees working. The atmosphere looked different from Paramount, more relaxed. People were smiling, talking, collaborating. The door opened. Zachary walked in, followed by Paige. I stood up. "I didn't know you'd be here," I said to Paige. "I'm not letting Zachary handle this alone," Paige said. She sat down across from me. Zachary sat beside her. In daylight, without the gala's formal atmosphere, they looked like what they were. A married couple, united. "Let me say first," Zachary began, "that I understand this is complicated for everyone. But my priority is protecting Cooper, Brady, and Austin. They're my sons in every way that matters. I've raised them since before they were born." "I understand," I said, "and I'm grateful, truly. You did what I should have done." Paige's expression softened slightly. "But they're also biologically mine," I continued. "I can't undo the past 6 years. I can't change the fact that I abandoned you, Paige. But I want to be part of their lives now if you'll let me." "Why?" Paige asked. "Why now, Trevor? You made it clear 6 years ago that your career mattered more than anything else. What's changed?" "Everything. Seeing them last night, seeing what I lost, it's like waking up from a nightmare. The board made me choose between you and becoming CEO. I chose CEO. And every day since then, I've regretted it." "The board made you choose?" Paige's voice rose. "You never told me that. You made me think I wasn't enough. You were more than enough. I was just too weak to fight for you." Silence filled the room. "When I found out I was pregnant," Paige said slowly, "I was terrified. Triplets. I had no family, no support system. I tried so hard to reach you, Trevor. Every call that went to voicemail, every email that bounced back, it destroyed me a little more each time. I started to believe maybe I had imagined our whole relationship." Zachary took her hand. "Then one night," Paige continued, "I was in the hospital waiting room for a prenatal checkup. I was 6 months along. Enormous. I had just found out I lost my job because I couldn't keep up with the physical demands. I was crying, trying to figure out how I would afford to raise 3 babies alone. And Zachary was there. My sister was having a baby," Zachary said. "I was in the waiting room with her husband. I saw Paige crying, and I couldn't just walk past. We started talking. He smiled at the memory. She told me about the triplets, about being alone. I don't know why, but I felt like I needed to help. He came to every appointment after that," Paige said. "He took childbirth classes with me. When I went into labor at 3 in the morning, Zachary was the one I called. He drove me to the hospital and stayed for all 14 hours. He was the first person to hold Cooper, Brady, and Austin after me. I fell in love with them immediately," Zachary said. "And with Paige, though that took a bit longer for both of us to admit. We got married when the boys were 2. I legally adopted them. They're my sons." Trevor felt tears threatening. "You've been an incredible father to them, a better father than I probably would have been. But I want the chance to know them. I'm not trying to replace you, Zachary. I could never do that. I just want to be in their lives." "That's complicated," Zachary said. "Cooper, Brady, and Austin don't know about you. They think I'm their biological father. We plan to tell them the truth when they're older, when they can understand." "I see. But they saw you last night," Paige said. "This morning at breakfast, Brady asked why that man at the dinner looked exactly like them. Kids notice more than we think." Trevor leaned forward. "Please, let me try. I'll follow whatever rules you set. I'll see them when you say I can. I'll take whatever relationship you're willing to give me with them. I just can't walk away again. I can't." Paige and Zachary looked at each other. Some silent communication passed between them. "We need to think about this," Zachary finally said. "This isn't a decision we can make lightly. It affects 3 children we love. Whatever we decide, their well-being comes first." "I understand," Trevor said. "Take whatever time you need. We'll call you in a few days," Paige said. Trevor stood to leave. At the door, he turned back. "Zachary, I'm sorry that your wife's past has become your problem." Zachary shook his head. "Paige's past isn't a problem. It's part of who she is. And Cooper, Brady, and Austin aren't a burden. They're the best thing that ever happened to me. I don't regret any of it." The simple statement cut deep. Zachary didn't regret loving Paige or raising Trevor's biological children. He had chosen them willingly, joyfully. Trevor had thrown away what Zachary had embraced. Trevor left Vertex Solutions and went home. By noon, his phone was exploding. The board wanted an emergency meeting. The story had hit the business news. Photos from the gala were everywhere online. Trevor frozen at the podium. The triplets at table 7. The undeniable resemblance. Trevor sent a simple email to Richard Brennan. "I resign, effective immediately." His phone rang within seconds. Trevor let it ring. Over the next week, Trevor's life imploded. He resigned as CEO. The board tried to negotiate, to do damage control. Trevor refused every offer. He had spent 6 years building a career that cost him everything real. He was done. Brooke's lawyer filed divorce papers. Trevor signed them without reading them and gave her whatever she wanted. Business news outlets published think pieces about the scandal. Some were sympathetic. Most weren't. Trevor Hale became a cautionary tale. The CEO who prioritized image over integrity and paid the price. Trevor didn't care. He waited for Paige and Zachary's decision. If you've ever made a choice that destroyed everything, leave a comment below. And if you're wondering whether Trevor gets a second chance with his sons, hit that subscribe button. Because what happens next will restore your faith in redemption, or break your heart trying. 8 days after the gala, Paige called. "We've decided," she said without preamble. "You can meet them. Zachary and I will be there. We're going to tell them the truth. That Zachary is their dad in every way that matters, but that you're their biological father. They might not understand everything, but they deserve honesty." "Thank you," Trevor said. His voice broke. "Don't thank me yet. If you hurt them, if you make promises you can't keep, if you disappear again, I will never forgive you. Neither will Zachary. I won't disappear. I swear. Saturday at 2 p.m., our house in Oak Park. Zachary will text you the address." The call ended. Saturday came. Trevor woke up at 6 in the morning even though he was not sure he had slept at all. He took a shower. He brushed his teeth 3 times. He tried to eat breakfast but felt too nervous. Trevor looked through his suitcase. He brought 3 different shirts. He put on jeans and a blue button-down shirt. Then he changed. He put on khaki pants and a green sweater. Then he changed again. He finally settled on jeans and a simple gray shirt. At 9 o'clock, Trevor left his hotel. The drive to Oak Park took 20 minutes. He arrived at 9:30. He parked on the street in front of Paige's house. He turned off the car and sat there. His heart was beating fast. His hands felt cold. The house was a beautiful Victorian with a large yard. A tire swing hung from an oak tree. Bicycles leaned against the porch. Toys scattered across the front steps. This was where his sons lived. This was the home Paige and Zachary built for them. Trevor looked at his watch. 9:35. He had 25 minutes. He waited. 9:40. 15 minutes left. 9:50. 10 minutes left. At 9:58, Trevor opened the car door. He stepped out onto the sidewalk. He walked slowly to the front door. He could hear children's voices inside. Laughter. Someone was singing. Trevor reached the door. He checked his watch. 10 o'clock exactly. He pressed the doorbell. The voices inside stopped. Trevor heard footsteps. The door opened. Paige stood there. She wore jeans and a white t-shirt. Her hair was down around her shoulders. She looked at Trevor for a moment without speaking. "You're on time," Paige finally said. "You told me not to be late," Trevor said. Paige stepped aside. "Come in." Trevor walked into the house. The inside was warm and clean. The living room was directly to the right. Toys covered the floor. Building blocks, stuffed animals, coloring books. Shoes sat in a row by the door. Small shoes. Children's shoes. Trevor looked at the walls. Photos hung everywhere. Photos of Cooper, Brady, and Austin as babies, as toddlers, at birthday parties, at the park, at the beach. There was a photo of all three of them wearing matching Halloween costumes. They were dressed as lions with orange manes around their faces. Trevor stared at the photos. He missed all of these moments. First birthdays, first Halloweens, first everything. Wait here, Paige said. She walked to the stairs and went up. Trevor stood in the entryway. He could hear Paige's voice upstairs. She was talking to the children. He could not hear the words. Then he heard small footsteps on the floor above him. A minute later, Paige came back down the stairs. 3 children walked behind her. They stopped at the bottom of the stairs and stared at Trevor. Cooper stood closest to Paige. He wore purple pants and a white shirt. His blonde hair was in 2 braids. He held Paige's hand tightly. Brady stood next to Cooper. He wore a pink dress with stars on it. His blonde curly hair was loose around his shoulders. He looked at Trevor with wide green eyes. No, wait. I need to check the character descriptions. The user said all 3 boys. Let me reread. Actually, I made an error. All 3 are boys. Let me correct this. Brady stood next to Cooper. He wore jeans and a t-shirt with a dinosaur on it. His blonde curly hair was loose and slightly messy. He looked at Trevor with wide green eyes. Austin stood on the other side. He wore blue jeans and a red shirt. His blonde hair stuck up in different directions. He stood partially behind his brothers. Trevor stared at them. They were beautiful. They had his hair and his eyes and his face. But they had Paige's expressions. Paige's mannerisms. They didn't know him at all. Paige knelt down next to the children. Cooper, Brady, Austin, she said gently. This is Trevor Hale. He's your biological father. The 3 children looked at Trevor. No one spoke. Brady tilted his head. Why does he have the same color eyes as us? Because children often look like their biological parents, Paige explained. You have his hair color too. And his eyes. Cooper looked up at Paige. Where was he before? The question hit Trevor hard. He didn't know how to answer, but he had to try. Trevor knelt down on the floor so he was at the children's eye level. I was not here before, Trevor said slowly. I made a mistake. A big mistake. I should have been here, but I wasn't. I'm sorry. Why were you not here? Cooper asked. His voice was quiet. Because I made a bad choice, Trevor said. I chose something else instead of being with you and your mom. I was wrong. Austin stepped out from behind his brothers. Do you know how to play soccer? Trevor smiled a little. Yes, I know how to play soccer. I like soccer, Austin said. I have a team. We practice on Tuesdays. That sounds fun, Trevor said. Brady walked closer to Trevor. Do you like dinosaurs? I do, Trevor said. I have a book about dinosaurs, Brady said. Do you want to see it? I would like that very much, Trevor said. Paige stood up. Why don't you show Trevor your toys in the living room? You can play for a little while. The children looked at each other. Then Brady grabbed Trevor's hand. His hand was so small. Come on, Brady said. My books are over here. Trevor stood up and followed Brady into the living room. Cooper and Austin came too. They were still cautious but curious. Brady sat on the floor and pulled out a book from a basket. It had a dinosaur on the cover. This is my favorite, Brady said. It has a triceratops in it. That's my favorite dinosaur. Trevor sat on the floor next to him. Can you show me? Brady opened the book and pointed to a picture. See? 3 horns. That's why it's called triceratops. You're very smart, Trevor said. Cooper sat down too. He didn't sit close to Trevor. He sat near the couch. He watched carefully. Austin brought over a soccer ball. Can you show me how to kick it? Maybe outside later if your mom says it's okay, Trevor said. Paige sat on the couch. She didn't leave the room. She watched everything. Zachary came down the stairs. He stood in the doorway for a moment, watching Trevor sit on the floor with the boys. Then he walked into the living room and sat next to Paige. For the next hour, Trevor sat on the living room floor with Cooper, Brady, and Austin. Brady showed him all his books. He told Trevor about every dinosaur and every animal. He explained which ones ate plants and which ones ate meat. He showed Trevor pictures and read some of the words. Cooper eventually brought over some drawings he made. He showed them to Trevor, but didn't let Trevor touch them. He held each drawing up and explained what it was. This is our house. This is the park. This is my teacher. Austin talked about his soccer team. He talked about his friend Marcus, who also played. He talked about how he scored a goal last week. He demonstrated his kick in slow motion. The children didn't call Trevor Dad. They called him Trevor. That was okay. Trevor didn't expect them to call him Dad. Not yet. Maybe not ever. After 1 hour, Paige stood up. Okay, kids. It's time for Trevor to go. All ready? Brady asked. Yes, Paige said. Trevor will come back another time. Austin looked at Trevor. Will you come to my soccer game? If your mom says I can, then yes, Trevor said. Paige walked Trevor to the door. The children followed. They stood in the entryway looking at him. Thank you for letting me visit, Trevor said to the children. Thank you for showing me your books and your drawings and telling me about soccer. Bye, Trevor, Brady said. Bye, Austin said. Cooper didn't say anything. He just looked at Trevor. Trevor walked out the door and down the steps. He turned back. Paige stood in the doorway with Cooper, Brady, and Austin beside her. They looked like a complete family, a family that Trevor was not really part of yet. Trevor got in his car and started the engine. As he drove away, he looked in the rearview mirror. Paige was still standing in the doorway. The children were waving. Trevor drove down the street and turned the corner. He pulled over and stopped the car. He sat there for a long time. He just met his children. His 3 5-year-old children. They showed him their toys and their books. They talked to him. They let him sit with them. It was only 1 hour. It was only the beginning, but it was something. Trevor put his head down on the steering wheel. He felt tears on his face. He didn't know if they were sad tears or happy tears. Maybe both. He had a long way to go, years of trust to build, years of showing up and proving he meant what he said. But today, for 1 hour, Cooper, Brady, and Austin let him into their world, and Trevor was not going to waste this chance. Trevor wiped his eyes and sat up. He looked at himself in the car mirror. His face was red. His eyes were wet. He took a deep breath and started the car again. He drove back to his hotel. When he got to his room, he called his mother in South Chicago. How did it go? His mother asked immediately. They let me sit with them, Trevor said. Brady showed me his dinosaur books. Austin talked about soccer. Cooper showed me his drawings. That's wonderful, his mother said. They called me Trevor, Trevor said. Not Dad, just Trevor. That's okay, his mother said. You have to start somewhere. Trevor talked to his mother for 20 minutes. Then he hung up and lay on the bed. He looked at the ceiling and thought about Cooper, Brady, and Austin. The next day, Sunday, Paige called Trevor. You can come again next Saturday, Paige said. Same time, 10 o'clock. Thank you, Trevor said. 1 hour again, Paige said. Don't be late. I'll be there, Trevor said. That week, Trevor made decisions about his life. He could not be a father from New York. He needed to be in Boston, close to his children, close enough to see them regularly. On Monday, Trevor called a real estate agent in Boston. He asked about apartments for rent, small apartments, 1 bedroom, nothing expensive. On Tuesday, the agent sent Trevor 3 options. Trevor picked the cheapest one. It was a 1-bedroom apartment in a neighborhood 20 minutes from Oak Park. The rent was $1,000 per month. Trevor used to spend more than that on dinners in Manhattan. Now it would be his housing cost. Trevor signed the lease over email. He would move in at the end of the month. On Wednesday, Trevor received more emails from Brooke's lawyer. The divorce was moving forward. Brooke wanted the penthouse apartment. She wanted half of Trevor's savings. She wanted half of everything. Trevor's lawyer called him. You could fight this, the lawyer said. You don't have to give her everything. Give her whatever she wants, Trevor said. I don't care. Just make it fast. Are you sure? The lawyer asked. Yes, Trevor said. On Thursday, Trevor called his bank. He asked about his Paramount Industries stock. He still owned shares worth $8 million. Trevor told the bank to sell all of it. All of it? The banker asked. Mr. Hale, are you certain? That's a significant asset. Sell it, Trevor said. The stock sold on Friday. $8 million appeared in Trevor's account. Trevor immediately transferred $6 million into 3 separate trust accounts. $2 million for Cooper, $2 million for Brady, $2 million for Austin. College funds, money they could access when they turned 18. Trevor called Paige on Friday evening. I set up college funds for the children, Trevor said. $2 million each. The accounts are in their names. You can manage them until they're adults. Paige was quiet for a moment. That's a lot of money, Trevor. It's the least I can do, Trevor said. I missed 5 years. I can't give them back that time, but I can make sure they have opportunities. Thank you, Paige said. Her voice was softer than usual. But money doesn't make up for being present. I know, Trevor said. That's why I'm moving to Boston. I signed a lease for an apartment. I'm moving at the end of this month. Paige was quiet again. You're moving here? Yes, Trevor said. I can't be a father from New York. I need to be close to them. Okay, Paige said. Saturday came again. Trevor drove to Oak Park. He arrived at 10 o'clock exactly. He knocked on the door. Paige opened it. Cooper, Brady, and Austin stood behind her. Hi, Trevor, Brady said. Hi, Brady, Trevor said. The second visit was easier than the first. The children were less scared. They showed Trevor more toys. Austin brought out building blocks, and they built a tower together. Cooper sat on the couch and drew pictures. He didn't talk much, but he stayed in the room. After 1 hour, Paige said it was time for Trevor to leave. The children said goodbye. Trevor came back the next Saturday, and the Saturday after that, and the Saturday after that. Every Saturday for 6 months, Trevor drove to Oak Park at 10 o'clock in the morning. He stayed for 1 hour. He sat on the living room floor with Cooper, Brady, and Austin. He listened to their stories. He looked at their drawings and their books. He played with their toys. The children were always polite, but they were distant. They called him Trevor. They didn't hug him. They didn't ask him personal questions. Sometimes Trevor brought small gifts. Coloring books for Cooper, new dinosaur books for Brady, a soccer ball for Austin. Paige allowed the gifts but told Trevor not to bring expensive things. They don't need toys, Paige said. They need consistency. During those 6 months, Trevor's old life completely fell apart. Brooke finalized the divorce. She took the penthouse and half of Trevor's money. Her lawyer sent the final papers in July. Trevor signed them without reading. News articles about the scandal continued for weeks. Business magazines wrote stories about Trevor's fall from power. TechVision appointed a new CEO. Trevor's name was removed from the company website. Trevor became known as the CEO who abandoned his children. Reporters called him. Trevor never answered. His reputation was destroyed. He didn't care anymore. In August, Trevor moved into his small apartment in Boston. The apartment had 1 bedroom, a tiny kitchen, and a living room barely big enough for a couch. The walls were white and empty. Trevor brought almost nothing from New York, just clothes and a few books. He needed a job. He could not live off his remaining money forever. Trevor applied to tech companies in Boston. Most rejected him immediately. The scandal made him unhireable. No one wanted a CEO with a destroyed reputation. Finally, a small tech startup called him for an interview. The company had 15 employees. They created software for small businesses. The CEO was a woman named Rachel Kim. She was 30 years old and built the company herself. Rachel interviewed Trevor in a small office. I know about your situation, Rachel said. I read the articles. I'm going to be honest with you, Trevor. Most companies won't hire you. Your name is associated with scandal. I understand, Trevor said. But I believe people can change, Rachel continued. I believe in second chances. We need a senior manager, someone who understands business operations. The salary is $150,000 per year. No stock options, no bonuses, just salary. It's probably less than you're used to. I'll take it, Trevor said. Rachel raised her eyebrows. You don't want to negotiate? No, Trevor said. I just want to work. I need to stay in Boston. I need to be close to my children. Rachel nodded. Okay. You start Monday. Trevor started his new job in September. He went to the office every day from 9 to 5. He managed projects. He wrote reports. He attended meetings. No one treated him like a celebrity. No one asked for his autograph. His coworkers knew about his past, but they didn't talk about it. Trevor preferred it this way. Simple work. No fame. No pressure. Just showing up and doing his job. Every Saturday, Trevor still visited Cooper, Brady, and Austin. The visits continued. 1 hour every week. Trevor never missed a Saturday. Not once. In October, 3 months after the first visit, something changed. Trevor arrived at Paige's house. The children came downstairs. Cooper walked into the living room and sat next to Trevor on the couch instead of across the room. It was a small thing, but it meant everything. Cooper was starting to trust him. In November, 4 months in, Brady brought Trevor a book. "Can you read this to me?" Brady asked. Trevor's throat felt tight. "Yes, I would love to." He read the book to Brady. Brady sat next to him and looked at the pictures. When Trevor finished, Brady said thank you and ran off to play. In December, 5 months in, Austin asked Trevor to play soccer in the backyard. Paige said it was okay. They went outside. The yard was small, but big enough to kick a ball. Austin showed Trevor how he practiced. They kicked the ball back and forth. "You're really good," Trevor said. "I've been practicing a lot," Austin said. "Coach says I might be the best on the team." "I believe it," Trevor said. They played for 15 minutes. Then Paige called them inside. Austin ran to the door. Trevor followed. These small moments meant everything to Trevor. Cooper sitting near him. Brady asking him to read. Austin playing soccer with him. The children were warming up slowly, very slowly, but it was happening. One Saturday in late December, 6 months after the first visit, Trevor was playing soccer with Austin in the backyard. Austin kicked the ball hard. It went over the fence into the neighbor's yard. "I'll get it," Austin yelled. He ran to the fence. "Be careful," Trevor called after him. Austin climbed on a small step stool near the fence and reached over. He grabbed the ball. "I got it, Dad." Then Austin froze. He turned around and looked at Trevor with wide eyes. He realized what he said. "I'm sorry," Austin said quickly. He looked scared. "I didn't mean to." Austin dropped the ball and ran into the house. Trevor heard the back door slam. Trevor stood in the yard alone. His heart was pounding. Austin called him Dad. For 1 second, Austin called him Dad. Trevor walked slowly to the back door. He went inside. Paige was in the kitchen. Austin was standing next to her with his face buried in her side. "I'm sorry, Mommy," Austin was saying. "I didn't mean to call him that." Paige looked at Trevor. Then she looked down at Austin. "It's okay, sweetie," Paige said. "You didn't do anything wrong." "But he's not my dad," Austin said. "He wasn't here before." Trevor knelt down on the kitchen floor. "Austin, can you look at me?" Trevor said. Austin turned his head slightly. "You can call me whatever feels right to you," Trevor said. "You can call me Trevor. You can call me Dad. You can call me anything. There's no wrong answer." "Okay," Austin nodded, but did not say anything. The visit ended a few minutes later. Trevor left. He drove back to his apartment. He walked inside and closed the door. His apartment was quiet and empty. Trevor sat on his couch. He thought about Austin's face when he realized what he said. Austin looked terrified. He thought he did something wrong by calling Trevor Dad. Trevor put his head in his hands. Austin might never call him Dad again. Cooper might never call him Dad. Brady might never call him Dad. They might always call him Trevor. That was okay. Trevor did not deserve the title of father. Not yet. Maybe not ever. But for 1 second, Austin said it. 1 second where Trevor was Dad. And Trevor would give up everything he ever had 1,000 times over for one more chance to hear it. Have you ever lost something before you even knew you had it? Have you ever watched a door close that you didn't know was open? If this story is hitting you in the heart, leave a comment telling me about a second chance you wish you had. And subscribe, because Trevor's journey is about to show you what real redemption looks like when you refuse to give up. Trevor woke up the next morning in his small apartment. Sunlight came through the window. He made coffee and sat at his kitchen table. The table was small, just 2 chairs, nothing like the dining room in his penthouse. Trevor thought about Austin calling him Dad. He thought about Austin's scared face afterward. Trevor picked up his phone. He almost called Paige, but then stopped. He would see them again on Saturday. 5 more days. The week passed slowly. Trevor went to work every day at the tech startup. He managed projects and attended meetings. He ate lunch alone at his desk. He went home to his empty apartment every night. On Wednesday, Paige called him. "Hello," Trevor answered. "Hi," Paige said. "I wanted to talk to you about what happened on Saturday with Austin." Trevor's chest felt tight. "Is he okay?" "He's fine," Paige said. He was confused. He asked me why he called you Dad. I told him that sometimes our mouths say things before our brains catch up. I told him it was okay. "Thank you," Trevor said. "The children are starting to see you as part of their lives," Paige continued. "That's good, but it also means they're going to have complicated feelings. They're going to be confused about who you are to them." "I understand," Trevor said. "Just keep being consistent," Paige said. "Keep showing up. That's what matters." Saturday came again. Trevor drove to Oak Park at 10 o'clock. He knocked on the door. Paige opened it. Cooper, Brady, and Austin stood behind her. Austin looked at Trevor nervously. Trevor smiled at him. "Hi, Austin." "Hi, Trevor," Austin said quietly. They went into the living room. The children played. Austin was quieter than usual, but he stayed in the room. After 30 minutes, he brought Trevor his soccer ball. "Can we play outside?" Austin asked. "If your mom says yes," Trevor said. Paige nodded. They went to the backyard. Trevor and Austin kicked the ball back and forth. Neither of them mentioned what happened last week, but Austin smiled more. He laughed when Trevor missed the ball. The visits continued every Saturday. 1 hour. Trevor never missed a week. In January, 7 months after the first visit, Paige called Trevor on a Tuesday. "The triplets are turning 6 years old in September," Paige said. "I'm planning a birthday party. Just a small party in the backyard with some of their friends from school." Trevor waited. He did not know why Paige was telling him this. "I wanted to know if you would like to come," Paige said. Trevor felt tears in his eyes. "Yes, I would like that very much." "It's on Saturday, September 15th at 2 in the afternoon, Paige said. "I'll send you the details." "Thank you," Trevor said. Months passed. Trevor kept working at the startup. He kept living in his small apartment. He kept visiting Cooper, Brady, and Austin every Saturday. In March, 8 months in, Cooper brought Trevor one of his drawings. "This is for you," Cooper said. "You can keep it." The drawing showed a house with a tree. 5 stick figures stood in front of the house. 1 tall figure labeled Mom. 1 tall figure labeled Dad. 3 small figures labeled Cooper, Brady, and Austin, and 1 more tall figure labeled Trevor. "This is beautiful," Trevor said. "Thank you, Cooper." Cooper smiled a little. Then he went back to his coloring books. Trevor looked at the drawing. He was in it. He was part of their picture, not as Dad, just as Trevor, but he was there. In June, Brady asked Trevor about his job. "What do you do at work?" Brady asked. "I help a small company organize their projects," Trevor said. "I make sure everyone knows what they are supposed to do." "Is it fun?" Brady asked. "Sometimes," Trevor said. "It's not exciting, but I like it. It lets me stay in Boston near you." "I'm glad you live in Boston," Brady said. Then he went back to his books. Trevor felt his throat get tight. Brady was glad he lived in Boston. He wanted Trevor nearby. In July, Paige called Trevor again. "I think we can increase the visits," Paige said. "You've been consistent for almost a year. You haven't missed a single Saturday. The children are comfortable with you now. What are you suggesting?" Trevor asked. "You can come twice a week," Paige said. "Saturdays at 10 and Wednesdays after school at 4, but only for 1 hour each time." "Yes," Trevor said immediately. "Thank you. The same rules apply," Paige said. "Be on time. Be consistent. If you say you will be there, you have to be there." "I will be there," Trevor said. Starting in August, Trevor visited twice a week, Saturdays and Wednesdays. He helped Austin practice soccer in the backyard. He read books to Brady. He looked at Cooper's drawings and told him he was talented. September 15th arrived, the triplets' 6th birthday. Trevor drove to Oak Park at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Cars filled the street. Parents were dropping off children for the party. Trevor parked and walked to the house. The front door was open. He could hear children's voices and music. Trevor went to the backyard. The yard was decorated with balloons and streamers. A table had a birthday cake with 6 candles. About 15 children ran around playing. Parents stood in groups talking. Paige saw Trevor and walked over. "Hi," she said. "Thank you for coming." "Thank you for inviting me," Trevor said. Cooper, Brady, and Austin were playing with their friends. They did not notice Trevor at first. Then Austin looked up and saw him. Austin ran over. "Trevor, you came," Austin said. "Of course I came," Trevor said. "It's your birthday." Brady ran over too. "Did you bring presents?" Trevor laughed. "Yes, they're in my car. I'll get them." Trevor went to his car and came back with 3 wrapped boxes. He put them on the gift table. For the next 2 hours, Trevor stayed at the party. He helped serve cake. He helped organize games. He took photos. He was just another adult helping out. But he was there. He was present. Near the end of the party, Cooper walked up to Trevor. He didn't say anything. He just stood next to him and held his hand for a minute. Then he ran off to play with his friends. Trevor looked down at his hand. Cooper had held it. Just for a minute. But he chose to stand next to him. After all the other children left, Trevor helped Paige clean up. They picked up paper plates and cups. They took down decorations. Cooper, Brady, and Austin opened their presents inside. "Thank you for helping," Paige said. "I wanted to," Trevor said. They worked in silence for a few minutes. Then Paige stopped and looked at Trevor. "You're doing better than I expected," she said. Trevor looked at her. "Really?" "Yes," Paige said. "You've been consistent. You show up when you say you will. You don't make promises you can't keep. The children trust you now, not completely, but they're getting there." "Thank you for giving me this chance," Trevor said. "I know I don't deserve it." "No one deserves anything," Paige said. "We just do our best with what we have." "You missed the first 5 years of their lives. You can't change that. But you can be here for what comes next." Trevor nodded. "That's all I want." 1 year passed since Trevor first met Cooper, Brady, and Austin. It was now October. Trevor still visited twice a week. The children were comfortable with him now. They talked to him about school and friends. They showed him their homework. They asked him questions about his life. They still called him Trevor, not Dad. Trevor did not push it. Maybe one day they would call him Dad. Maybe they would not. That was their choice. One Saturday in October, Trevor arrived at 10 o'clock. Paige let him in. The children were in the living room. Cooper was drawing. Brady was reading. Austin was building something with blocks. "Hi, Trevor," they all said when he walked in. Trevor sat on the floor with them. After a while, Cooper brought his drawing over. "Look what I made," Cooper said. The drawing showed 5 stick figures holding hands. They were labeled Mom, Cooper, Brady, Austin, and Trevor. All 5 were connected. All 5 were together. "Can I keep this one too?" Trevor asked. "Yes," Cooper said. That afternoon, Trevor went home to his apartment. He hung Cooper's drawing on his refrigerator next to the first one Cooper gave him. He stepped back and looked at both drawings. In the first drawing, the 5 figures stood separately. In the second drawing, they held hands. The children were letting him in slowly, one step at a time. Trevor sat by his window and looked out at the Boston streets below. His life was completely different now. He was not CEO of Paramount Industries anymore. He did not live in a penthouse. He did not drive expensive cars. He did not have fame or power. But he had something better. He had 3 children who were learning to trust him. He had a chance to be part of their lives. Trevor thought about the choice he made 6 years ago in that conference room. The board told him to choose between Paige and becoming CEO. Trevor chose CEO. He chose money and power and image. He lost everything that mattered. But now he was making different choices. He chose to resign from Paramount. He chose to move to Boston. He chose to show up every week for Cooper, Brady, and Austin. He chose to be present even when it was hard. Even when the children did not call him Dad. Even when they kept him at a distance. Trevor could not fix the past. He could not get back the first 5 years. He missed their births and their first words and their first steps. He missed so much. That pain would never go away. But he could be here now. He could show up. He could be consistent. He could prove that he meant what he said. Paige was right. Children do not need perfection. They need presence. They need someone who shows up week after week. Someone who keeps promises. Someone who proves through actions that they care. Trevor made a promise to himself. He would visit Cooper, Brady, and Austin every week for the rest of his life. He would be there for soccer games and art shows and school plays. He would be there for birthdays and holidays. He would be there when they were happy and when they were sad. It would take years to earn their complete trust. Maybe it would take forever. Maybe they would never fully forgive him for missing the first 5 years. But Trevor would keep showing up. Every week, every month, every year. He would be present. He would be consistent. He would prove that they mattered more than anything else. Because Trevor finally understood what success really meant. Success was not a corner office or a big salary or fame. Success was not image or power or wealth. Success was 3 children learning to trust him. Success was Cooper giving him drawings. Success was Brady asking him to read. Success was Austin playing soccer with him in the backyard. Success was showing up even when you don't deserve a second chance. Success was doing the work to repair what you broke. Success was choosing family over everything else. Trevor looked at the drawings on his refrigerator one more time. 5 stick figures holding hands. Mom, Cooper, Brady, Austin, and Trevor. He was part of their picture now. Not perfectly, not completely, but he was there. And Trevor would never walk away again. 2 years after the gala, Trevor received a call from Paige. "The boys want to know if you'd come to their soccer game on Saturday," she said. "It's their first year playing, and they're very excited." "I'd love to," Trevor said. "But what about our regular visit? We were thinking maybe you could come to the game and then stay for dinner after. If you want dinner. A family dinner." The invitation felt monumental. "I'd really like that," Trevor said. Saturday came. Trevor drove to the Oak Park Youth Soccer Field. He found Paige and Zachary in the stands. They had saved him a seat. Trevor watched Cooper, Brady, and Austin run around the field in matching jerseys. Their blonde hair was bright in the sunlight. They were not very good yet. They were only 7, but they played with joy and enthusiasm. When Austin scored a goal, he turned and looked at the stands. His face lit up when he saw his family there. He waved at Paige, at Zachary, and at Trevor. Trevor waved back. His heart was full. After the game, they all went back to the house. Zachary grilled burgers while Paige made salad. The boys changed out of their uniforms and ran around the backyard, still full of energy. Trevor helped set the table. It was such a simple domestic task, but it felt significant. He was helping. He was part of this. They ate dinner together as the sun set. The boys talked over each other about the game, about school, about their friends. Paige and Zachary listened with patient attention. Trevor mostly stayed quiet, just soaking in the normalcy of it all. This was what he had thrown away 6 years ago. Not the specific people, but the possibility, the chance for genuine connection, for family, for love that was not performed for an audience. After dinner, while Zachary helped the boys with their bath time, Paige and Trevor cleaned up the kitchen. "Thank you for coming today," Paige said. "The boys were really excited that you'd be there." "Thank you for inviting me," Trevor said. "This means everything." Paige dried a plate thoughtfully. "You know, I spent years being angry at you, for leaving, for blocking me, for missing their births." The anger was justified. It was, Trevor agreed, but holding on to it wasn't helping anyone, Paige said. "Zachary helped me see that. He said that forgiveness isn't about excusing what you did. It's about releasing the power it has over my life. Have you forgiven me?" Trevor asked quietly. Paige considered. "I'm working on it. Watching you show up consistently, seeing how you respect Zachary's role, how you don't try to buy the boys' affection or push for more than we're ready to give. It helps. You're doing the work, Trevor. That matters. I'll keep doing it," Trevor said. "For as long as you'll let me." "I know you will," Paige said. "And I think eventually I'll get to full forgiveness. I'm not there yet, but I'm closer than I was." It was not absolution, but it was grace, and Trevor would take it. Upstairs, Trevor heard Zachary reading a bedtime story. The boys were laughing at the funny voices he made. Zachary was an incredible father. Present, engaged, loving. Everything Trevor had not been and was trying to become. Before Trevor left that night, Cooper ran down the stairs in his pajamas. "Trevor, wait," Cooper called. Cooper held out a small toy car. "I want you to have this. You can bring it back next time." Trevor knelt down and took the car carefully. "Are you sure? This looks important." "It is," Cooper said seriously. "That's why I'm letting you borrow it." So you have to come back. Trevor felt his eyes sting. I'll take very good care of it. And yes, I'll definitely come back. Cooper smiled and ran back upstairs. Trevor stood on the porch with Paige and Zachary. He looked at the small toy car in his hand, red with racing stripes, worn smooth from being played with. He's never let anyone borrow that car before, Zachary said quietly. Not even his brothers. The significance was not lost on Trevor. Cooper was learning to trust him. Trevor drove home with the toy car in his cup holder. In his apartment, he placed it carefully on his desk next to the family drawings. These were his treasures now. Not stock portfolios or corner offices or six-figure bonuses. A child's drawing and a borrowed toy car. Evidence that he was becoming part of something real. 4 years after the gala, the boys were 9 years old. Trevor had been part of their lives for 4 years now, more than half of their lifetime. He saw them weekly. He attended their school events, their sports games, their birthday parties. He was Uncle Trevor to their friends, just Trevor to Cooper, Brady, and Austin, and he was okay with that. One Saturday in spring, Trevor arrived for his weekly visit. Paige opened the door with an unusual expression, similar to the day the boys had shown him the family tree drawing. "What's going on?" Trevor asked. "The boys have something they want to ask you," Paige said. In the living room, Cooper, Brady, and Austin sat on the couch in a row. They looked nervous. Zachary stood nearby, his hand on Paige's shoulder. He nodded encouragingly at the boys. "Trevor," Brady started, "we've been talking, and we have a question." "Okay," Trevor said, sitting down in the chair across from them. "What's up?" The three boys looked at each other. Some silent communication passed between them. Then Cooper spoke. "Dad is our dad," Cooper said. "That's never going to change. He's the best dad in the world." "He absolutely is," Trevor agreed. "But you're important too," Austin added. "Your family. You've been coming every Saturday for 4 years. You've never missed one, not even when you were sick that time." Trevor had indeed shown up with a terrible cold once, wearing a mask and keeping his distance but refusing to break his streak of weekly visits. "So we were wondering," Brady continued, "if maybe instead of just Trevor, we could call you something else." Trevor's heart started beating faster. "What did you have in mind?" The three boys looked at each other again. Then Cooper said, "We thought maybe Papa Trevor? Because Dad is Dad, but you're also a parent-type person. Papa Trevor makes sense to us." Trevor could not speak. Tears filled his eyes. "If you don't like it," Austin started, looking worried. "No," Trevor managed to say. "I love it. Papa Trevor is perfect." The boys grinned with relief. "We checked with Dad first," Brady said. "We wanted to make sure he was okay with it." Trevor looked at Zachary, who nodded. "They came to me last week with the idea," Zachary said. "I told them it was completely their choice what they wanted to call you. You've earned a title beyond just your first name." "Thank you," Trevor said to Zachary. Then to the boys, "Thank you. This is the greatest honor of my life." "Okay, Papa Trevor," Cooper said with a smile, testing out the name. "Do you want to play basketball?" Just like that, with a child's ability to move on from big moments, they went outside to play. But Trevor carried the moment with him. Papa Trevor, not Dad. That belonged to Zachary, but a parent figure nonetheless, a role he had earned through consistency and presence. That night, Trevor called his mother in South Chicago. "They have a name for me now," he told her. "Papa Trevor." His mother was quiet for a moment. "Oh, Trevor, that's wonderful. I never thought I'd get here, Mom. After everything I threw away, I never thought I'd have any kind of relationship with them." "You're getting a second chance," his mother said. "Not everyone gets that. Don't waste it." "I won't," Trevor promised. "I show up for them the way I should have from the beginning, the way I wish I had shown up for Paige." "Have you told her that?" "Not in so many words." "Maybe you should." The following week, Trevor arrived early for his Saturday visit. Paige answered the door. "The boys are still at their swimming lesson with Zachary," she said. "They'll be home in about 30 minutes. You can wait inside if you want." Trevor followed her into the living room. Paige made tea. They sat in the kind of comfortable silence that comes from years of forced proximity slowly transforming into something like friendship. "Paige," Trevor said finally, "I never properly apologized. You've apologized many times, not the right way. I apologized for not knowing about the boys, for blocking you, for missing their births. But I never apologized for the core of it. For walking away from you in that coffee shop 6 years ago. For choosing a career over you. For being too weak to fight for what we had. Paige set down her teacup. Trevor, I loved you, Trevor continued. I was in love with you. And when the board told me you were not suitable for a CEO's wife, I should have told them to go to hell. I should have fought for us. Instead, I protected my career. I lied to you and made you think you were not enough, when the truth was that I was not enough. I was not strong enough or brave enough. And I'm sorry. I'm so deeply sorry for that betrayal. Paige's eyes were bright with tears. I appreciate that. Genuinely. You and Zachary have built something beautiful, Trevor said. Those boys are incredible, and I know that if I had stayed, if I had been the one to raise them, they might not have turned out the same. Zachary is the father they needed, but I wish I had been strong enough to be the man you needed back then. You were not, Paige said simply, and that hurt terribly. But Trevor, I need you to hear this. I'm happy. I love Zachary deeply. He's my partner in every sense. What we have together, the life we've built, I would not trade it for anything. Not even for a version of the past where you didn't walk away. The words hurt, but they also freed something in Trevor. I'm glad, he said, and meant it. You deserve that happiness. So do you, Paige said. Are you happy, Trevor? He considered. I'm not miserable anymore. For years after becoming CEO, I felt hollow. Now I feel like I'm building something real. The boys, my work helping small businesses instead of maximizing shareholder value. My life in that small apartment instead of a penthouse I never felt at home in. It's not the life I thought I wanted, but it might be the life I needed. That's good, Paige said. The boys love having you in their lives, you know. Cooper told me last week that Papa Trevor is his favorite Saturday tradition. Really, you've become part of their world, Trevor. Maybe not in the way you originally would have been, but in a meaningful way nonetheless. The front door opened. The boys tumbled in with Zachary, wet-haired and energetic. Papa Trevor, Austin yelled. You're early. Do you want to see the dive I learned? Definitely, Trevor said. As the boys dragged him upstairs to show him videos on Zachary's phone, Trevor glanced back at Paige. She smiled at him, a genuine smile of friendship and shared purpose. They were Caro parents now, in a strange and unconventional way. Not the way Trevor had once imagined, but real nonetheless. 5 years after the gala, Trevor stood in the backyard of Zachary and Paige's house, watching Cooper, Brady, and Austin play with their friends. It was their 10th birthday party. The yard was full of children running around, parents talking in groups, and decorations everywhere. A banner read, Happy 10th birthday, Cooper, Brady, and Austin. Zachary came over and handed Trevor a beer. Hell of a turnout, Zachary said. They're popular kids, Trevor observed. You and Paige have raised them well. We've done okay, Zachary said. Then, after a pause, You know, I never thought I'd say this, but I'm glad you're here, Trevor. Not glad for how it happened, but glad that the boys have you in their lives. That means a lot coming from you. I mean it. 5 years ago when you showed up at that gala and everything exploded, I was ready to hate you forever. But you've done the work. You've shown up consistently. You've respected boundaries. You've never tried to compete with me or undermine my role. That takes real character. I learned from watching you, Trevor said honestly. You're the father I should have been. No, Zachary corrected gently. I'm the father I am. You're becoming the Papa Trevor they need. Different roles, both important. Cooper ran over, breathless and grinning. Papa Trevor. Dad, come play capture the flag with us. We need more adults on the teams. You heard the boy, Zachary said with a smile. We're needed. They spent the next hour running around the yard with 10-year-olds, playing capture the flag until everyone was exhausted and laughing. Later, after cake and presents, after most of the guests had left, Trevor helped clean up. Paige was in the kitchen, boxing up leftover cake. Thanks for all your help today, she said. Of course. It was fun. Brady came into the kitchen. Papa Trevor, before you go, can you help me with something upstairs? Sure, buddy. Trevor followed Brady to the bedroom he shared with his brothers. The room had 3 beds, 3 desks, and posters covering every wall. Brady went to his desk and pulled out a piece of paper. We have to do a school project about our family history. I'm supposed to interview family members. Could I interview you? Absolutely, Trevor said. What do you want to know? Brady pulled out a list of questions. Where were you born? What did your parents do? What was your childhood like? Stuff like that. For the next 20 minutes, Trevor answered Brady's questions. He talked about growing up poor in South Chicago, about his mother cleaning houses, about studying hard to get a scholarship. So, you didn't have money when you were a kid? Brady asked. No, we were pretty poor. But then you became a CEO? I did, for a while. Why aren't you CEO anymore? Trevor chose his words carefully. Because I made some choices that hurt people I cared about. When I realized what I had done, I decided the job was not worth it. Do you regret it? I regret hurting people, but I don't regret leaving that job because it let me have more time for what really matters. Like us? Brady asked. Exactly like you. Brady wrote that down carefully. Then he looked up at Trevor. Can I ask you something that's not on the school questions? Of course. Do you wish you were our dad instead of just Papa Trevor? The question hit hard. Trevor thought about lying, about giving an easy answer. But Brady deserved the truth. Honestly, part of me will always wish I had been there from the beginning. I wish I had been the one to raise you and your brothers, to be there for all the moments I missed. But another part of me knows that Zachary is the father you were meant to have. He's patient and present in ways I was not capable of being back then. So I'm grateful I get to be Papa Trevor, even if I wish I had earned the right to be more. Brady nodded seriously, processing this. I'm glad you're Papa Trevor. Dad is Dad, and that's perfect. But having you two makes our family bigger. I'm glad too, buddy. That night, as Trevor drove home, he thought about Brady's question. Did he wish he were their dad instead of just Papa Trevor? Of course he did. He would always wish he had made different choices 6 years ago. He would always carry the regret of walking away from Paige, of missing the boys' early years, of choosing a career over family. But wishes could not change the past. And the present, being Papa Trevor, having a role in their lives, watching them grow into kind and thoughtful children, was more than he deserved. The story could have ended differently. Trevor could have shown up at that hospital 6 years ago. He could have been the one Paige leaned on. He could have been Dad. But he was not. Zachary was, and the boys were better for it. All Trevor could do now was keep showing up, keep being consistent, keep earning his place as Papa Trevor. It was not the fairy tale ending. There was no grand reconciliation with Paige, no replacing Zachary, no undoing the past. But it was real, and after years of performing for boards and investors, after years of chasing, an image of success that left him hollow, real was exactly what Trevor needed. 6 years after the gala, Trevor stood at his apartment window looking out at the Boston skyline. It was a Saturday morning, 9 o'clock. In 1 hour, he would drive to Oak Park and knock on that blue door. Cooper, Brady, and Austin would open it. They would say Papa Trevor and tackle him with hugs. This was his life now. Simple, modest, real. Trevor thought about the letter he had written to his younger self. The letter he kept in his desk drawer. The letter warning himself not to make the choice that destroyed everything. But that letter could not change the past. No letter could. No amount of regret or apology could undo 6 years. All Trevor had was now. And now was enough. He looked at the photos on his walls. Pictures of the boys at various ages. Always with Paige and Zachary, but with Trevor present in the frame. Papa Trevor, part of the family in his own unique way. He looked at the drawings on his refrigerator. The family tree with 5 stick figures holding hands. He looked at the small red toy car on his desk, the one Cooper had lent him years ago and then regifted permanently. These were his treasures, evidence that he had earned his way back. Not all the way, never all the way, but enough. Trevor picked up his keys. It was time to go. As he drove to Oak Park, he thought about success. Real success. He had been CEO of Paramount Industries for 5 years. He had made millions of dollars. He had been on magazine covers and television programs. He had been photographed and interviewed and celebrated. None of that mattered now. What mattered was that in 10 minutes, he would knock on a blue door and 3 boys would open it. What mattered was that he showed up. Every week, without fail, for 6 years. What mattered was that he proved through actions, not words, that they were more important than anything else. Trevor pulled up to the house at 9:55. He sat in his car for 5 minutes. The same ritual he had followed for 6 years. Gathering himself, preparing. At exactly 10 o'clock, He walked to the door and knocked. The door flew open. 3 blond boys with green eyes looked up at him. "Papa Trevor," they said in unison. They tackled him with hugs, all 3 at once. Trevor knelt down and wrapped his arms around them. Zachary appeared in the doorway. He smiled and nodded at Trevor. Paige came up behind Zachary. She smiled too. "Come in," she said. "We're making pancakes." Trevor followed his family inside. The door closed behind him. This was redemption. Not dramatic or perfect. Just showing up, week after week, year after year, being present, being consistent, being part of their lives in whatever way they would allow. Trevor Hale had lost everything 6 years ago. His career, his reputation, his chance to be there from the beginning. But he had gained something more valuable. 3 sons who called him Papa Trevor, a place in their family, a purpose that actually mattered. He had learned the hardest lesson, that success is not measured in corner offices or stock prices or magazine covers. Success is measured in Saturday mornings, in pancake breakfasts, in soccer games and birthday parties, in children's laughter and trust earned slowly over years. Success is choosing to show up, even when you don't deserve it, even when the door should be closed, even when you have no right to ask for grace, and then doing the work to earn that grace every single day. If you're watching this and you've ever walked away from something that mattered, I want you to know it's not too late. Redemption is possible, but it requires work, consistency, humility, time. It requires showing up again and again even when you don't deserve it. If this story moved you, hit that subscribe button and share it with someone who needs to hear that second chances are real. And drop a comment telling me what success means to you. Because maybe, just maybe, we've all been measuring the wrong things. Trevor sat at the kitchen table with Cooper, Brady, and Austin. They were talking about school and friends and the soccer game later that afternoon. Zachary flipped pancakes at the stove. Paige poured orange juice. This was family. Messy and complicated and unconventional, but real. Trevor had spent his whole life climbing towards something. Success, achievement, proof that he mattered. But he had been climbing the wrong ladder. Real success was right here, in this kitchen, with these people, living a life that mattered, not because of what he achieved, but because of who he showed up for. "Papa Trevor," Austin said, tugging on his sleeve. "Are you coming to my game today?" "Of course," Trevor said. "I wouldn't miss it." And that was the truth. Trevor would not miss it. He would not miss any of it. Not anymore. He had missed the first 5 years. That debt could never be repaid. That regret would never fully fade. But he would be there for everything that came next. Every game, every birthday, every milestone, every ordinary Saturday morning. Because that is what Papa Trevor did. He showed up. And 6 years after losing everything, Trevor finally understood that showing up was everything. The pancakes were ready. Zachary brought them to the table. The family sat down together. Paige said a quick blessing. Then everyone ate and talked and laughed. Through the window, morning sunlight filled the kitchen. Outside, the world continued. But inside this house, in this moment, everything was exactly as it should be. Trevor had climbed to the top of the corporate world and found it empty. He had fallen from that height and lost everything. But in losing everything, he found what actually mattered. He found redemption. Not given, earned. He found family. Not through biology alone, but through presence and consistency and years of proving he meant what he said. He found success. Not in a corner office, but in a kitchen full of pancakes and laughter. And 3 boys who finally trusted him enough to call him Papa Trevor. And that was worth more than every $1 million he ever made. Worth more than every magazine cover. Worth more than every achievement and award and accolade. This was real, and real was everything. Trevor looked around the table at his family, at Paige, who had forgiven him enough to let him into her home, at Zachary, who had shown him what real fatherhood looked like, at Cooper, Brady, and Austin, who had given him a second chance he never deserved. And Trevor made a silent promise, a promise he had made 1,000 times before and would make 1,000 times again. "I will keep showing up. I will be here, always." Not because it was easy, not because he had earned it, but because they mattered more than anything else in the world. And finally, after 6 years of mistakes and regret and slow, painful redemption, Trevor Hale understood what his life was really for. Not to build empires, not to chase wealth, not to prove anything to anyone, but to be present, to be consistent, to be Papa Trevor, and that was enough.